Good day. My name is Andre Laas, applied natural scientist, founder and principal scientist at Indaba-Tus. In Mpumalanga, the mining story has always been written on the land. I would like to spend a few minutes on the next chapter, which is written on water. Thank you to Andrew Pott of SFG Technologies and to the task team for this opportunity. This is a brief introduction into floating ecological infrastructure, what it is, where we have put it in the water, what we have measured, and what we still do not know. I would rather leave you with good questions than claims I cannot defend. Mpumalanga is a province defined by two things in abundance, minerals and water, and everybody in this room knows the two have a complicated relationship. Across the coalfields we have pit lakes, return water dams, evaporation dams and irrigation systems. A great deal of water and much of it degraded. That's the starting point. Not the technology looking for a home, but a large amount of working water surface already under pressure, and already somebody's responsibility. Many of you know the term floating wetland, and I want to be upfront about why we use a different one. This did not start as a treatment idea. SFG Technologies molded the floating unit, the grow raft, to grow crops in deep water culture. But we quickly realized that eutrophied water bodies does not substitute a balanced hydroponics medium. And many open water bodies contain contaminants that render it unsuitable for food crop production. This brought a different question to the same piece of plastic. Not what we could grow on it, but what a dense root mass hanging free in the water column does to the water. A floating wetland is one ecological outcome. Floating ecological infrastructure is an infrastructure class, a stable modular platform onto which you deploy vetiver, other wetland plants, solar, sensors or aeration. Infrastructure first, ecology as the payload. The platform gives structure, the configuration gives function. Site engineering makes it operable. The monitoring turns a concept into evidence. Without that fourth step, you have a photograph, not a result. A word on hardware, because that question always comes. South African engineered and molded. Modular sites assembled on the bank and scaled to the site. Mooring adapts too, either bank lines on a canal, anchor piles, or dead weights on a dam. It is made from up to 70% recycled polypropylene, UV stabilized and chosen for a long service life in water. We have 15 months of our own field exposure behind that, and are yet to observe the failure of a unit despite vandalism and challenging environmental conditions. The plants sit in dual roots and grow cups. A small volume of growing medium supports each plant while it establishes. Then the roots extend through the base of the cup directly into the water column. And there is a circular economy story. Waste plastic becomes water treatment infrastructure. The flagship payload is vetiver grass, Chrysopogon zizandioides. The cultivar is phytovet, a sterile clump grass selected for phytoremediation. It sets no viable seeds, it does not spread and it's not invasive. Its tolerance range is remarkable. In soil, vetiver is documented to survive extremes in pH, salinity, and heavy metals. What the plant does on a floating platform in our water is what we are documenting. This is a single grow cup lifted out of a canal at Loskop. The root mass developed hanging free in the water column. On a floating platform, vetiver works through several mechanisms at once, and it's worth separating them. The dense root curtain physically filters suspended solids out of the water moving past it. The roots offer enormous surface area for the microbial biofilms that actively drive nitrification and the breakdown of organic matter. In most floating systems, the microbes do more of the work than the plant does. The plant takes up dissolved nitrogen and phosphorus directly. The roots leak oxygen, creating aerobic microzones, and the raft face, roots and shoots combined, intercept floating debris. 15 months, 3 sites, all self-funded. Let me take them in the order we built them. Site 1 is a farm near Bronkhorstspruit. We started April 2025. This was the proof of concept. Rafts assembled on the bank, towed out by a small boat and moored onto the bank. I want to be straight about it. There's no formal monitoring report from this site. This was our engineering and horticultural shakedown, and we learned many invaluable lessons. But the photographs do tell a simple story. 15 months on, the rafts are still floating. The moorings have held. The vetiver stands are robust. The root development is what gave us the confidence to go further and to start monitoring properly. This site will be replanted later this year after the last frost, and we are looking forward to seeing our learnings leading to improved outcomes. Site 2 is in an estate in Gauteng. We started there at the end of November 2025. There the rafts are part of a treatment train alongside bioaugmentation and fine bubble aeration. This is on an estate irrigation dam fed from the Ecological River, a hard urban catchment with sewage pools, urban and industrial effluent. This is where we started measuring plants properly. Over 63 days, 19 marked plants were assessed. Tiller numbers rose by up to 320%. Leaves, initially trimmed to 15 centimeters at installation, now average 64 centimeters. Roots grew from nothing to a mean of nearly 28 centimeters, and every single plant had roots beyond the cup within 40 days. What we are seeing is the same dams at day 0 and day 63. Site 3 is the Loskop Irrigation Board here in Mpumalanga. 3 pollution control points where irrigation canals ends. 2 platforms installed early February 2026 and a third early in March. This is our first formal monitoring program, 60 permanent marked cups and 160 completed cup assessments so far. 100% plant survival and 100% cup retention at every assessment at all 3 points. Mean maximum root length reached 39 centimeters at the first point after 105 days, 50 at the second and 42 at the third after only 75 days, with individual roots reaching 81 centimeters. Leaves average around a meter and tiller counts roughly tripled. The roots are outpacing the shoots, which is exactly what you want for phytoremediation. Now the boundary, because it matters more than any number I just gave you. Everything I have shown you is growth and survival. It is measured, it is ours, and I will defend every figure. It's not the same thing as demonstrating treatment. We have no pollutant removal rate per square meter of raft, no metal uptake data, no dissolved oxygen effect that we can attribute to the rafts alone, no structural analysis. This is where we are actively seeking government research and industry partnerships. This part I find most useful, and none of it was planned. On the left, Bronkhorstspruit at planting in May 2025, a straight string of modules on a line dam. In the middle, the same string after sustained wind. It deformed into a curve and took some damage, but it did not fail and it did not sink. On the right, the same installation at very low water levels, sitting on the exposed liner. Again, it came through. At Loskop, one platform had rocks thrown onto it, damaging individual floats and cups. After the rocks were cleared, it refloated and carried on, with not a single plant lost. Field infrastructure has to take punishment, and so far this has. What I will not do is to turn this into a general claim. I cannot tell you it will survive anything and everything a site can throw at it, but we are quite happy with the durability observed to date. 2 things we are already seeing at Loskop. The rafts are intercepting floating debris, plastic and sediment, at their upstream faces. That is a litter trap function nobody designed in, and in a canal system it has obvious operational value. The second observation is that water immediately downstream of these platforms are visibly clearer. The next step on both is paired upstream and downstream water sampling, and that is our plan. But you can see it from the bank and you can see it from the drone that the impact is already there. Covering water has a cost. You cut the light and gas exchange. That suppresses algae, which is usually what people want, but it also drops dissolved oxygen and can harm the life you were trying to protect. I work on a coverage ceiling. On a natural impoundment, 20% is my absolute limit. Up to 5% where the objective is purely habitat and aesthetics. 5 to 10% for general remediation, and 10 to 20% only on badly impacted high-nutrient water bodies. Engineered configurations are different. A dedicated plug-flow raceway that is not a natural habitat in its own right justifies a much higher coverage. This is my working protocol backed by field experience, but not yet published and not yet backed by solid field data. Because the platform is infrastructure first, the payload can change. The same platform family carries solar panels, and floating solar prototypes has been built and floated. For this province, the logic is worth spelling out. Floating solar takes no land, which matters where land is under rehabilitation. It reduces evaporation, and the cooling effect of water improves panel output. For mines with large water bodies and for the just energy transition agenda, the synergy is obvious. Solar and vetiver can share the same dam. So where can this deploy today? Farm and estate dams, eutrophic municipal and mine return water dams, evaporation dams, irrigation canal endpoints, pit lakes as research sites. But the application I would most like this room to consider is as a complementary layer inside an engineered treatment system. Pre-treatment upstream of mine water treatment plants, where cutting the suspended solid load could reduce dosing, sludge volumes, and membrane fouling, and therefore operational costs. It replaces nothing. It works 24 hours a day at very low operating cost and very low maintenance. And because the platform is a carrier, other things ride on it. We can look at biochar stocks, aeration on nanopole modules, bio-augmentation dosing points, sensors for monitoring the water quality. Those are all modular experiments we would like collaborators to run with us. That brings me to what we do not yet know, which I regard as one of the most critical parts of this presentation. Removal rates. We have no qualified water removal per square meter measured against an unplanted raft or against open water. Mine water. Whilst literature shows handling soil pH down to 3, and there is published floating work on acid mine drainage, we have not piloted our rafts on AMD ourselves. In this province, that is the one pilot we need most supported. There is also planting density, biomass harvesting, metal accumulation limits, winter performance under high-felt frost, and long-term durability. Every one of these is a thesis, a pilot or a partnership waiting to happen. So what are we asking for? First and foremost, research partnerships. We need to do replicated mesocosm work with proper unplanted controls. We need to look at metal uptake and biomass mass classification. And we need to look at acid mine water trials. We're also looking for pilot sites. If you have a candidate water body, whether it's a mine, irrigation board, or municipality or a state, talk to us about hosting a research and development deployment. We have not proven something. And lastly, scrutiny. Where we have not proven something, I will not claim it. We are open to questions and critique. That is an introduction to floating ecological infrastructure. We invite you to follow the journey, interrogate the data, and to bring us a site. If any part of this is useful, or if you think it's wrong, contact me directly. My details are on screen. Andrew Pott at SFG Technologies can speak to the platform and supply. This work is presented on behalf of Indagatus together with SFG Technologies, the developer of the platform. Thank you for the invitation and thank you for your time. Goodbye.